Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Full game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome aboard to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you, starting off your week on this Monday. Greg Rakestraw joins us to get her started off right. It wouldn't be Monday without Greg. How is it going, my friend?
It's going well, buddy. What about yourself?
I cannot complain. Nobody wants to listen to it. Can't find anybody that does yet. Just kidding. But just a relaxing weekend. Didn't have to do a whole lot other than watch some games, and not as busy as I'm sure you were.
You know what? By my standards, it's a pretty laid-back weekend as well. Mother Nature intervened on my behalf on Friday night, as I ended up having a night off with most games in the Indy area didn't get bagged until the middle of the afternoon when the snow kind of picked up a little bit stronger than some thought it was going to. Saturday night, got to see Carmel and Westfield play. Westfield with an impressive 9-point victory. And when the Colts don't make the playoffs, Jim, suddenly I get some Sundays off, which was the case yesterday. So a very rare Friday night through Sunday night stretch where I had one play-by-play event. You would almost think it was summer until you look outside and there's a foot of snow on the ground.
Yeah, that the snowfall, man, that's the most I've seen in quite some time. And I guess it's the most we've had in like a decade, right?
Correct. So this is the most snow that's been on the ground since 2014. And that was the big blizzard that coincided with right after the Colts with the Chiefs in the playoff game. And so you can almost wonder what's happened longer, that level of snow or the Colts winning or hosting a playoff game. The jokes sometimes just write themselves. We had some melt around here yesterday. The deep freeze hits, and then we're kind of waiting to see what the next track of snow is going to look like. The early indications are that the next snow coming this weekend is going to be more of a northern event than it is a southern event. Because as of now, Jim, there's more snow on the ground, or there's been more snow in Indianapolis than there's been in South Bend so far this year. Put it in perspective, South Bend averages 65 inches of snow on the ground a year because of lake effect snow. So that's how strange it's been, but hopefully a bit of a reprieve, even if it's not going to warm up again for the next 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, it hasn't been that bad either. It kind of harkens back to some days long ago, to be honest with you. Little snow. I thought that the snowman had forgotten about us, to be honest with you, but it's kind of good to see it in a little bit. So we're not heading towards it all melting and crashing in. But,
the only problem is, Jim, when you're in the live sports business, snow can be your enemy. And as I have to scramble to send crews to different places and announcers and make up games and things like that, I realize how easy the scheduling portion of my job has been for the last several winters.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Colts. They're not going to make any changes. They're going to move forward as is, and some people are not happy about that. Some people think that that's the right move. I'll leave that up to those individuals, but it doesn't matter because that's how it's going to be right now. But they're going to have to do something different to change some of the things you just mentioned. It's been too long, and the fans they're more than ready for it.
Correct. The natives are restless, understandably so. To put it in perspective, 10 years since the Colts last won a playoff game, 10 years since the Colts last hosted a playoff game, 10 years since the Colts last won a division, made the playoffs in both 18 and 20, last won a playoff game in terms of 2018. All right, so with the historical data in the background, Obviously, the fact that Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are coming back, that has not changed since you and I last conversed last Monday. What has changed is that Chris Ballard met with the media. That took place on Friday morning. And Chris, as he has in previous press conferences, basically kind of gave a mea culpa and said, hey, this is not good enough. Here are the things or the insights that I think, okay, these are the things you point to. All right, now let's see if you put your money where your mouth is in March. Are you going to be more active in terms of free agency? Chris basically said, hey, clearly I made a mistake in terms of bringing back so many pieces from what we had a season ago. I probably overestimated how well we were playing at the end of last year when they were 9-8 and a play or two away from winning the division and hosting a playoff game. And the fact they won 9 games with Gardner Minshew and not Anthony Richardson, et cetera. So the defense was brought back intact. Clearly, that did not work out well. And so I think you can expect to see the Colts be active in free agency in the defensive backfield. I think that's where you're looking at. He also acknowledged that you've got to have a better pass-catching tight end. That is obvious. Chris likes the run-blocking element of his tight ends. There are 2 tight ends of the core group of the 4 or 5 that we saw kind of rotate that are free agents. One is Mo Alley-Cox, who has been with the club now for 8 years. The other is Kylan Granson, has played out his rookie contract for the last 4 years. I think if they could bring back Mo at the right price, they would bring him back as more of a run-blocking specialist. I think last year, if Brock Bowers got to him at 15, if taking a hard look at drafting Bowers, he didn't. Now it's going to be, is Tyler Warren of Penn State going to be available to them, in the middle of round number 1? And so I would expect them to be more active in free agency with players that haven't already played for the Indianapolis Colts. And again, on offense, Jim, the glaring need is at the tight end position. And there clearly is a first-round level pick in Tyler Warren of Penn State. Now the question is, do the Colts going to have to maneuver up or down to get him, as they currently sit with a mid-round pick?
Yeah, it's something that Indianapolis fans, period, have been kind of accustomed to, with the Pacers kind of landing in that same similar spot as far as picks go as well. But hopefully that they can get her going a little bit, because, man, Indiana football's picked it up, and so you cannot be second to Indiana football, right?
Well, here's the issue that you have, and let's see how this plays out at the box office over the next few months. Is the populace venting frustration, or are they going to speak with their wallets? And again, you cite the example of the Pacers. The best example I can give you is in the aftermath of the brawl. So the brawl happens 04-05. That's Reggie's last year. The next year, the Pacers still a playoff team, but attendance started to wane. The next year, Ron Artest demands a trade. The Pacers acquiesce. The Pacers don't make the playoffs for 4 years, and it was a ghost town at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. You would have name your own section night, where you could show up. And so now, do the Colts suffer a similar fate? Because do fans, instead of being ticked off, do fans simply say, I'm apathetic and I'm not going to renew season tickets and things of that nature? And so what do crowds look like? Let's be honest. And again, you almost have to throw away the last home crowd, because we know it wasn't going to be good in the first place because of the 2 teams and the lack of importance of that game. Then you have a snowstorm, and so that makes that crowd even smaller. But again, there were 4 crowds that were full, not because of what the Indianapolis Colts were doing, but because they were playing the Buffalo Bills, the Detroit Lions, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Chicago Bears. That's what sold out those games, not the Indianapolis Colts. And so is what this team going to do in March and April enough to convince fans to put down their hard-earned money and buy season tickets, or are people going to take a wait-and-see approach this year? And obviously that is the process that will now play itself out over the next 8-9 months.
Yeah, it's always something. It's always something. Plenty to go on. And then, of course, the high school ball that is going on. You can't stop it. You can slow it down with some snow, but nothing big change-wise there that I saw over the weekend.
No, the only big news was that Lawrence North lost. Warren Central beat them, and Warren is a sneaky good team. Warren did not have their best player for the first 5 games of the season. Javon Guess is also an outstanding football player. That may be one of the things that's talked about with this group, even with the tremendous talent it has, that there are 3 guys potentially that can make the all-star team that are college football players and not college basketball players. Mark Zachary of Ben Davis, though his plan is to play both at Notre Dame. John Anthony Hall is going to play at Stanford. And Javon Guess has been a 4-year starter as a center at Warren Central at 6'5", 6'6". Really may have more of a future as a defensive end, defensive tackle, or tight end. He was kind of a late kid to football. He was a basketball kid first. And so we'll kind of see how that process plays out for him. But Warren beat LN. But just a quick glance at the coaches poll last night, Jim, Fischer's is the unanimous number 1 team. The only other unbeaten team in the top 20 is Crown Point. And Crown Point's pretty solid. Dikembe Shaw is their top player. And they're maybe a team that we'll see in the Hall of Fame Classic next year. Maybe they're a team that we see get to the semi-state round of the tournament, if not farther. But no, other than Fischer's, everybody else, Jim, is kind of beaten up on everybody else in terms of the top teams in Indiana high school basketball.
Indiana men's basketball, not a great weekend for them, and their prize is getting to come home and face an Illinois squad that's probably going to be pretty upset and ready to play. But Indiana gets whipped on the road at Iowa. I know that's not in your purview, but amongst all the things you have going on, but I know you pay attention to everything.
I do, and let's face it, losses like that are becoming way too common. And I think the Big Ten as a whole is pretty average this year, and obviously IU is right there in that mix. And again, much as I said about the Colts, we see our fans going to vote with their wallets, and I'm sure you have speculated about this already, and we'll continue to talk about this for the next 2 months. Does the IU football success, and now when you have a glimpse at greatness, knowing it's been a long time since you have seen that, from a basketball standpoint, does that actually speed the clock up on Mike Woodson? That's going to be very interesting to watch over the course of the next couple of months.
Well, I'm going to be shocked if it doesn't. I'll be honest with you, because let's be honest, basketball is something that can be turned around in a single season. We've seen it.
Right.
We're seeing it right now. Look at Louisville with Pat Kelsey. Look at Kentucky with Mark Pope. Look at Michigan with Dusty May. There are just tons of examples, and this is year 4, and yeah, it's not good.
And again, you and I have had this conversation before. I thought Indiana did all of the right things in the offseason, and it's what you heard me criticize them for last year, was that in the landscape now, Indiana is the bluest of blue bloods. In other words, they have the deepest pockets. Not many places have the fan base Indiana does. Not many places has the ticket revenue of 17,000 strong every game. And Indiana used those resources to go out and hit the transfer portal and bring in numerous key pieces and still retain some key pieces. They frankly should be a top 10, top 15 team, and that might be underselling it. And obviously they are nowhere close to it. So again, that's another damning statement that matches up with everything that you just said, which was 100% accurate.
Absolutely, brother. I hope you have a great week and look forward to chopping it up again next week.
You got it, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, sir. There's a bit of the hard truth here at the Hard Truth Studios with our good friend Greg Rakestraw. Up next, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, will join us as he returns from his trip to Iowa City as Indiana gets just blistered by the Hawkeyes. The final score, 85-60. And it's just another beatdown. But Don Fischer will join us next here on the program. Thanks for everybody that's joining us no matter where and how. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this break.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday. Thank you so much, no matter where and how you're listening. Of course, joined now by the voice of the Hoosiers, the great one, Don Fischer. Don, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I cannot complain. Glad to hear it. I'm looking out. I see some sunshine. That's something I haven't seen for quite a while, even though it's bouncing off of about 10 inches of snow out there. I guess into each life, a little snow must come. That's all right. A little frosty for Indiana over the weekend as well, shooting-wise, in Iowa, as a team not known for defense was able to shut Indiana's shooting down pretty much all the way around. Is the Hoosiers only wind up with two players in double figures, with Rice and Ballo respectively at 12 and 10, barely even reaching that point. So it was just a beatdown, and I don't know how else to say it, Don.
No, it was exactly that. And the biggest problem was the outset of the ball game, where Indiana turned the ball over time after time after time, ended up with 12 first half turnovers in the ball game. They were down 10 at halftime. The fact that they weren't down by more than that is surprising, because they just couldn't hang on to the basketball. Too many bad passes, those kinds of things. They cut the turnovers down to just 4 in the second half. But it didn't do any good, because there the defense failed, and the defense could not get stops on Peyton Sanford. Price Sanford knocked him in as well. Dix did as well, especially in the first half for him. Just a very poor performance by this Indiana basketball team. It's so disappointing, because the start of the new year, you saw some really good play out of Indiana against Rutgers and Penn State. I thought the Penn State game was one of the best games they've played all year long. I don't think, and Penn State's a good basketball team, but they're struggling now too. And I don't know what. I was just talking to somebody about this. We're just not seeing the toughness, the want to get back into ball games sometimes. We're seeing something totally different in college basketball these days, and it depends on the coach and the players and how they go about their business out there. I just think the money has just changed everything in college sports, and it's hurt everything in college sports as well.
Well, we can certainly see it in certain places, and I'm not looking to call anybody out per se, but I do have to talk about Mackenzie Mbako and where he's gone, because he's a huge part of this team, and whether they succeed or fail. And man, he has just not been in presence in the last couple of ball games.
Well, here's the thing, and you hate to see a young man that dictates whether he's going to play hard or smart or whatever the case may be, if it's all about shooting the basketball. And it looks to me like if he goes out there and gets off to a good start shooting the ball, he is engaged and he starts playing well, and does a nice job out there at both ends of the floor. He's not a great defensive player. We all know that. He struggled with that so far in his career. He's just a sophomore. But his offensive play, it seems, is all predicated on whether he makes the first shot or two. And if he doesn't, it's almost like he's disengaged. And I don't want to say that because I don't know his thinking process, nor does, maybe the coaches do, but I certainly don't. All I can say is if you're not engaged, you're not going to help your basketball team. And it looks to me like he thinks if he's not making shots, there's no sense that to be out here. And of course, the coaches looked at it that way too here the last several ball games. It looks like Mike Woodson has decided if he's not going to give effort at both ends of the floor, I'm going to sit him down. I think he's played fewer minutes in some of these ball games now. He had 16 in the Iowa ball game.
15 before that, maybe.
Yeah. In the ball game before that, he had just basically 15 minutes, 14 minutes and 52 seconds. So I don't know. All I can tell you is to me, it's like the money has something to do with this thing. I think the NIL money and AAU basketball back in the day, you started seeing players that didn't care. They didn't have the determination to win games or the fight to win games, because AAU basketball, if we lose that one, we got another one here at 3:00, or if we lose that one, we got another one tonight. That's what AAU basketball has done over the years. It's taken away the fierceness that you have to play with from a college basketball standpoint. It's taken away a lot of that drive to be a winner. And right now, I don't see that in some guys. I'm not saying everybody's that way. I'm just simply saying I've seen it in players.
Yeah, and we look around at other programs and you don't always see that. So there's the questions on why here, why there, why this guy, why that guy. And it's going to be up to this team and a lot of these guys to do a lot of this on their own, which that's not what most players are asked to do. But they're going to have to decide very quickly, because they've got an Illini team coming in here that is going to be, they're upset. They just got beat. A shocking loss. That's the price by a team that Indiana just beat, who was probably is one of the worst teams in the league and probably won't make the Big Ten tournament. But so Illinois is going to be looking to get back on the right track. Indiana has to get on the right track, and they have an opportunity at home. And again, I've said this so many times, Don, if you lose that home game, that's double, because now you got to go make that up on the road. Very difficult.
There's no question. You've got to win your home games. This is going to be a challenge, I think, for this IU basketball team. Now, here's the thing. They were embarrassed, I think. They have to be embarrassed from that performance against the Hawkeyes. They had 12 first half turnovers. they couldn't handle the basketball. Miles Rice, I think, probably tried to play his best basketball. It wasn't his best game by any stretch of the imagination, but at least he was busting it out there. I just didn't see that from a lot of other players. Trey Galloway had an awful game for
0 points.
Yeah, he didn't score a point in the contest. He struggled mightily with turnovers, but everybody was doing that. Obviously, Umar Baldo, at the beginning of that game, Umar couldn't hang on to the basketball. It was like, and I'm not saying that all the passes were great that got thrown to him or anything like that, but he was big time struggling with taking care of the basketball. And it was that way for this whole ball club, at least at the outset of the game on Saturday. And honestly, it was a disappointing performance in so many ways, but that second half, there just didn't seem to be much want to even be out there on the floor for those players. And obviously the backups were in a lot of the second half of the contest, but they couldn't handle what Iowa was throwing at them. And I didn't think Indiana did a very good job at all of dealing with the defensive alignments for Iowa. The zone defense that they played didn't seem like we could solve that in any way, shape, or form. And it's such a disappointing performance after how good this team started the second half of the season.
And it's the worst part of this is it is coming at the head of probably the toughest stretch this team is going to face all season. They started it at Iowa, didn't start it very well. Now you've got an Illinois team coming in, and it's going to continue because whether the Big Ten is great or not, it's still tough. There are still 9-10 teams that are probably better than you or trying to be better than you every night. And that is going to put Indiana in a box very soon if they don't fight their way out of this.
Yeah, and it's sad that we're having to talk about this after, like I said, the start of January, because they played really well, I thought, against Penn State, really well against Rutgers. Under those circumstances, I thought they did a nice job, but the strength of the schedule is about to hit them, and it's going to hit them every single ball game. Ohio State's had their problems this year, but at home, they're a different team than they are on the road, just like Iowa is a different team on the road than they are at home. And we got Ohio State coming up right after this Illinois ball game. So this is a challenge for this Indiana basketball team. It's an opportunity for them to get their head on straight, to get themselves right to play basketball at the level of which they're about to play. And that's going to be the question.
Yeah, because Don, if they can't get it going here at home, I can't see where it's going to pick up for them, because it's going to remain tough or get tougher actually, because when you start, that negativity starts growing, and you don't even have to say anything. It just grows like a cloud, and they're heading into what could be some dark clouds here in this part of the season. And then you get into a swirl that you can't get out of. And nobody wants to see that. It's not fun to talk about, I'll be honest with you. And it's not. It's seriously not. People that think that it's fun to get up there and do that, well, that's the easy thing. Yeah, it's easy to talk about all the bad things, but it's not fun. It doesn't make people happy. So
it's totally negative. It's just totally negative. When you start losing, or when you have problems with your team and they don't seem to have the right stuff to pull out of it, so to speak, that's when things really get bad. And I think this team's got too much talent for that to happen, but I can't say it can't happen, because this is a ball club right now. And when you look back at their schedule this year and who they've played and when they played them and who they beat and who they didn't, you can see that the best teams that Indiana's gone up against this year have been the games that they've had real problems with. And is Iowa one of the best teams in the conference? At home, they are. When they play at Iowa City, they are. There's no doubt about it. They're averaging 90 points a ball game. This is a basketball team that you can't take lightly if you're playing in Iowa City.
And while a lot of this lies on the players to perform, it goes everywhere. The coaches have to accept the blame as well. Mike Woodson has to accept his share of the blame as well. And he's got to get it going. It's up to him. He's the head of the corporation, so to speak. And so it falls on the president. and he's the president. So he's got to get this team turned around no matter what the case is, no matter who's doing what. He's got to find it because he has the players that he basically hand selected.
Right.
I'm not trying to go in that direction either. I'm trying to play it, but they deserve that part of the blame needs to go that way as well.
Oh, it just doesn't stop with the players. It goes with the coaching staff as well. And I know these guys, these coaches, I think they work really hard. I think Mike has got a really good staff in the sense of these guys wanting to get it done right. We'll just have to wait and see if they can get this thing turned around. It's not like they've got to turn around the whole season. They're 13-4 and 4-2. But they got to take care of home court against one of the better teams in this league in this next ball game. Like Indiana, Illinois is 4-2. They did lose to Southern Cal this past week. They didn't have one of their best players. Like Indiana hasn't had Malik Renew for a while. But everybody was excited about the fact that Malik, even with him being out, Indiana was playing so well. And now we're going to find out whether or not that can continue. And hopefully Malik gets back pretty quick because I do think he's an integral part of this basketball team and somebody that they need to have on the floor, especially when Umar is in trouble.
Exactly right. So Illinois comes in now, a team that is one of the best in the Big Ten. And actually, and I'm not going to take it away from them just because they lost to USC, because everyone ends up getting a weird loss. And that one was definitely a weird loss. But Illinois is looking kind of like the team that could be the best of the best here. UCLA has struggled here of late. Michigan hasn't. They haven't really hit any bumps. They're up there, but Illinois, I said Illinois, not Illinois. It sounded, I know as soon as that came out, it sounded like that. Those are the two teams that are probably the two top in the Big Ten right now.
Well, Michigan State, you'd have to put in that area too.
Yes.
Spartans are pretty good too. So and Purdue, all of a sudden Purdue has found itself again too. They've been playing really well here in the last 2 or 3 ball games. So there are a lot of good teams in this league, and you're going to have to face. And Indiana's going to have to play Purdue twice. They're going to have to play Penn State again. Of course, they'll be doing it in Bloomington the next time. But by that time, Rhodes might have those guys turned around too. That you just don't know. And here's the key: the players are the ones that have to want this. They are the ones who have to want this. It doesn't matter what the coaches do in regard to the want of a ball club. It's the players who have to want and have the pride to get the job done from a winning perspective. And this team has enough talent on this team to get it done in that regard. Now the question is, will they, and will they have the want to do it?
Absolutely, Don. What is up next for you? I know we've got the Illini game coming up on Tuesday.
Well, we got to the Tuesday ball game with Illinois, and then of course we got the Friday ball game, I think, with Ohio State in Columbus. Am I right about that? Is that Friday? That's correct, isn't it? I thought it was.
You were correct.
Yep, 7:00 pregame and 8:00 tip on that one. We don't have a Woodson talk show tonight, but we do have a Terry Morin talk show tonight inside IU basketball with Terry Morin at Hoosier Hanks at 7:05.
Well, very apropos as they're coming off of a huge win for the women. Down in Iowa. Don, I cannot thank you enough, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Jim. See you, buddy.
You betcha, buddy. Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Lots more coming up. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back and chop it all up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We're going to get to the hard truth right after this break. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the hard truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. I hope you are doing well, getting your week started off right. If not, we're going to try to head you in the right direction. Thanks a lot for being with us, no matter how and where you're listening on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN The Ref, always the right call down in Evansville. Or up in the region on the voice of the region. 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Just keep it locked right here all day. No sense in going anywhere else because even after Indiana Sports Beat Radio, they've got plenty of great things to keep you engaged. Engaged is something the Indiana men's basketball program is going to have to get, including Mike Woodson. Or this season will quickly go off of the rails without question. Indiana, although, they go into the Iowa game, 13-3? Looks like a great record. It looks beautiful. It looks incredible. But guess what? It's not. And people that want to convince themselves, which are not many, but I know that there are a lot of people that, they're 13-3. They've only lost. Yeah, look who they've lost to. Every team that meant anything. Who have they beaten? Now, this is a true, the argument people used against Indiana football, which was crap. Who have they beaten? Who have they beaten? Well, they beat everybody on their freaking schedule except for the 2 teams that are playing in the national championship game. And the teams they didn't beat, they beat the living crap out of. Save for maybe Michigan, who they still beat, but Michigan beat Ohio State, who's playing in the national championship game. And they beat Alabama, who everybody wanted in the CFP. I don't want to get too far off there. Regardless, I don't even know where I was going with that. Now I got myself so jacked up and off course, but Indiana basketball has got to get their head out of their butt. It starts at the top. I mean, just listen to a lot of the answers at the pressers. That gives you a great indication. There was a question asked last week when I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I'm not going to dwell on it. Well, you should dwell on it. That's why these things are happening, because they're not being dwelled on, or whatever the case may be. The natives are getting restless. All jacked up, no place to go. That's right, Russell. The comments are getting, 4 years ago or 6 years ago, when Indiana was in this same position with Archie, it was too hard to resist. Well, first of all, he was easy to just dislike as a person, and that does not happen very often. So he made it a lot easier. But at least it looked like he was trying to do something that made no sense and it was not working, and he was still trying to do it regardless. Kind of similar here, but there's even less. I know less about what's going on. And I know a lot of people agree with the money thing. Okay, that's where I'm going to say no, it does not. It has nothing to do with it. Well, I'm not going to say it has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it anywhere else. It might, in this case, for Indiana, because maybe the wrong people were selected. You know how Kurt Cignetti talks about character, talks about the type of players that he wants? Do you notice all the success he had without 5 stars? He took a group, and their entire staff did, of mid-range guys and created a badass team. Indiana basketball has taken a group of so-called stars and made this a less than average basketball team. And you can blame Mackenzie Mbako if you want. You can do whatever you wish. At the end of the day, there's a place where it all starts and it all stops. I don't want to get, like I said, I don't want to get into banging on the potential for a coaching change or whatever that is. It's January. It's early January. We're almost mid-January, but it's, whether it's obvious or not, it doesn't matter. You got a lot of games. Indiana has a lot of games left to play. Can they get their heads out of their butts and do the things it will take to just have a decent season? Because if not, they're going to be embarrassed. Now, not that they shouldn't already be embarrassed. A lot of comments this morning. This is like Festivus. You people got a lot of problems with IU basketball. Need to get the aluminum pole out. Yeah, Mike Woodson is 1-5 against Iowa. He has more wins against Purdue than he does Iowa. But it's not. Yeah. I mean, no one needs me to say it's not working. It hasn't been. And this has nothing to do with not having Malik Renew. I just, what does not having Malik Renew have to do with what happened in Iowa with Luke Goody? You know, you can't not blaming him because he's been playing well lately, but he goes 1 for 6 on the day. Trey Galloway, 20 minutes, and the biggest number on his stat sheet is a 4 for personal fouls. He took 2 shots. He scored 0 points. Do you know how many points you had scored combined with 3 of the 5 starters? 9. If you take Goody, Mbako, and Galloway Combined, those 3 starters had 9 points. Yeah, that's not going to win a game. Not when you look across the board and you see Iowa that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in double figures, another one with 8, but not just double figures. Sanford, he's one of the brothers, the higher scoring one. Great day, 7 of 12 overall, 4 of 9 from behind the line, and 5 of 5 at the stripe in 31 minutes of play. 23 points. But he also got a dozen from Dix, a dozen from Thelwell, 10 from Harding, 16 from Freeman. Indiana got wiped off of the floor. They don't have toughness. There is no toughness in this team. That starts and ends at one place. It has to be demanded for one, but it also has to be innate. You have to have that desire in you. And boy, again, I don't want to crack on any individuals, but Mackenzie Mbako he just seems to pout when things are not going his way. The towel on his head the other night. It's obvious things are not going well, and there's no sense in just beating all that. People are talking about on the for those that are following along on YouTube, hitting us up with the comments on the Andy Moranda hotline. Brian asked, how many times was the ball ripped away from Ballo? A 7-footer, no less. Not ready. Just not ready to play. I don't understand that. I really don't. Every now and then I can understand it. It just happens to happen, but it happens too often. How could Michael asking, how could you pay a coach $5 million a year and have the number 1 recruiting class basically in NIL and not win a Big Ten title and not go to the Final Four? Forget about a Big Ten title or Final Four. I don't think this team makes the NCAA tournament, bro. I've been saying that all year. I've said that for a while. I don't see this team making the NCAA tournament. That's awful. But it goes down to, it doesn't matter what players you have. It doesn't matter how good the players are if you don't have a system that works. If you don't have a system that works with the talent you have. A successful system, one that will win. Now, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. That's why I have people like Todd Leary on and many others. But the easy comments, the ones that I'm making right now, are common sense, same things that most of you see. It's not, it's mind-boggling, to be honest with you. To me, if you want to, starting at the coach, if you want to win bad enough, if you truly want to win bad enough, you make changes. You dive into, okay, this is not going well. We need some serious changes right now. What changes are you seeing? What differences have been made? It is what it is. Brian asking, how long has it been since Indiana was ranked with a ranked opponent coming into Simon Scott Assembly Hall? It's Simon Scott Assembly Hall. I noticed someone repeated what I've said before, in that it's not a feared place anymore. It used to be a place that nobody wanted to come into and play. Just because they knew Indiana was going to play hard. They knew that the fans were going to be loud, and it was going to be a tough night to play. Now, I think most teams are excited to come to Simon Scott Assembly Hall. They get to play in an iconic venue and are, depending on the team, likely to get a win. And I think that that's truth. It's not a feared place, but that is simply by the performances on the floor. This is not the fans. They're just not, we talk about this toughness all the time. When they play Rutgers, Rutgers was always punking them. Penn State was out toughing them. Everybody's out toughing Indiana, and you're not going to win overall. You're going to beat most of the teams you're supposed to beat. But, it's not going to be good. But I've also said this a lot. If change is something that you're hoping for, well, then you're going to have to endure a year that's not going to be fun. If it's a good year, change is not going to happen. Change will only come after a bad year. So there's that. Reagan, great to see you on here. Haven't seen you on here before, but we appreciate you. Said Fool's Gold on the good start. Indiana played bad teams. They did. They played a bunch of teams that are just Ken Palm 200 type teams. Very low ranked. I'm trying to pull up the net rankings right now. Indiana went into the Iowa game at 56, thereabouts. They're now 60. At 13-4. The only team, let's see, I'm trying to see other teams that have 13 wins but are lower than Indiana in the net rankings. Those are teams like St. Bonaventure in the A10, Washington State out in the West Coast Conference, San Francisco, Bradley. I don't know that there's anyone else. Yeah, there's High Point. Hey, don't forget High Point down there, 13-4. They're 99th. I don't see any other 13 game winners that are that far down. It would be bad if they were, but Indiana's 60th in the net rankings right now. That's not going to get you anywhere. Definitely not going to get you in the NCAA tournament. And I think that's going to be after Indiana's football season. And I think Indiana fans are very fortunate to have had the football season they did. Imagine if you had another 3-9 football season and you were having to deal with this. Here's what's funny. Spring ball is just, 2 months away? Spring football. So there's that. Indiana fans can look forward to. And in all seriousness, I think next year's football team might be better than this past season's team. I think that the offense might take just a little step up as far as just behind the line, not even consider the line. They have got to make some tighten up the offensive line, but they lost some guys that hopefully they will get back. Hopefully they can go through as healthy as they did next year, though, because let's be honest, they were pretty fortunate. They were the schedule next year offers some a couple of opportunities to kind of extinguish this mantra that is going on with Indiana that they can't beat good teams, which is crap. it's like everybody forget about Michigan because Michigan didn't have a great start to the season. Big deal. We've got lots more coming up. We'll get to it on the other side of this break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Dustin Dopirak will join us in the next hour. We're back with more right after this. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fischer. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Monday. And that always means our good friend Dustin Dopirak, the Pacers beat writer for the Indy Star. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I've got to talk to you today, so it can't be all bad, right?
Right.
I see you're traveling now.
This is the Cleveland Hotel, yeah. It's fantastic, Cleveland, Ohio. Nobody hate on Cleveland, Ohio. For as much as I'm like contractually obligated to do so as a Pittsburgh native, I don't hate this town. I like this place.
It's not bad. It's a cool. No. The only thing I couldn't stand about it is that they does Cleveland get the worst lake effect snow of anybody just because of their location?
That's a high bar. I think Buffalo gets it bad.
I knew that Buffalo did. I just figured since they're right there on the stinking water, it takes a minute to build up.
I would think they do. I mean, they don't have it right now. I mean, they have snow, but it's not like it's fascinating how I think that the band that's at like Indianapolis level and then Bloomington level got hit a lot harder than, kind of the lake cities, your Chicago's, your Milwaukee's, your, even South Bends. I know my mother-in-law didn't get hit nearly as hard as we did. So yeah, no, but I'm sure they do. And, like there's other weather and like that general, just, I don't know, cloudy feeling. I don't know. Basically, like, I mean, like what a Great Lakes city looks like, at night.
Dark, gloomy, gray.
We got architecture that goes with that, basically, like the kind of old Germanic buildings.
I would try to think of who's the
Gothic.
Who was the great old American that would do the paintings?
Norman Rockwell.
Yes, it's not a Norman Rockwell photo, is it? When you think
maybe it is. Maybe it is.
It should be. It should be. But hey, how about the Pacers keeping up? The Pacers have kind of gotten a hold of themselves. They were like
sure did. Yeah.
They were like basically running in mud for a while. It was just like they couldn't get traction. They couldn't get out of their own way. Now they're like, okay, they've kind of escaped that, and they're making tracks,
more
man.
More than a little. 12 out of 15. I mean, I'm pretty amazed at what happened last night, honestly. They were down 53-40 at the break. Halftime we find out Tyrese Haliburton's not going to play the second half with hamstring tightness. First off, don't know too much more about that. Asked Rick Carlisle after the game. He said he just knows it was tight, and that's all he heard. Obviously, if you're a Pacers fan, that's a reason to worry because it's the same leg, at least, that where he had the issue last year where he strained the hamstring twice. Last year, I guess it should be noted, last year it was two different strains. Is how Tyrese explained it, that it was strained in two different places. So I don't know if this is new. I don't know if this is re-aggravating one of those. If he's been dealing with something secretly and not telling us about it. Not sure what all that is yet. Only it just didn't seem like Rick Carlisle was overly concerned about it last night. But all the same, you take your all-star point guard out of a game where you're already down by 13 and not doing particularly anything well offensively. I think they were like 7 of 23 from the floor in the second quarter. Like Cleveland was starting to pull away. And again, the Cavs had won 12 straight, were 33-4, best record in the league, playing spectacular basketball. And somehow the Pacers managed to turn that around completely, and they outscored them 68-40 in the second half. Brought a lot of defensive pressure, brought a lot of full court pressure, turned the Cavs over in the backcourt a couple times, and just turned that game around completely. Held Cleveland to 4 of 20 shooting in the second half. I mean, this is a team that might have 4 All-Stars this year with Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. I mean, there's a real possibility all 4 of those guys go based on how well they're doing. But the Pacers, again, this is a team that like last year gave up 120 a game. They gave up 152 in a game that they won. Last year. This is a drastic change from where they were last year defensively. I guess in their last 15, they've won 12 of their last 15, and in that stretch, they're top 10 in the league in points allowed, top 10 in the league in defensive rating. Again, this is a team that was really bad at this not too long ago, and they've really brought it together. I mean, so obviously, big thing that happened, Andrew Nembhard is playing fantastic basketball since he came back from his knee tendonitis. That's really helped him, it's really helped Tyrese Haliburton, but it's really helped the Pacers defensively just have somebody that's a point of attack, defender. And, they didn't really have anybody they could super trust. I mean, really, they were giving the top perimeter defensive assignments to Quentin Jackson, who's on a 2-way contract. I mean, that's not being in a normal place. I mean, I still think there are games that they should have won because they still had, Haliburton and Benedict Mathurin and Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner available. You got to find a way to make that equation work. But since they've got Nembhard to connect everything, just everything has fallen into place offensively and defensively. They've won 12 out of 15. They're up to 5th in the East. They're only a half game back with the Magic for 4th. Just dramatically changed. They're 22-18, 4 above 500. It's the first time they've been that high, all year. And so just everything has changed for them over the last month.
And what is the genesis of that change?
Yeah, it's Nembhard. I mean, more than anything else, it's Nembhard. And obviously there's other things that are different. Tyrese Haliburton, obviously was out last night, the second half of last night, but I mean, he has been a lot better. I think that you can't remove, your best player, your franchise player being, a lot better from that equation. And he was just struggling to make shots. I mean, like don't know, like how much of those issues were physical, but a lot of them were definitely mental. It definitely seemed like one failure was begetting another. Just a missed shot would just really, start to, it's like, oh, that one didn't go in, man, I got to get one of these. And then, you would just see him just not get it right. And he's really kind of shook it off right around Thanksgiving week. And since then, he's been a lot better. He's not, sometimes he's been all-star caliber, whether you think he's been all-star in that entire stretch, that's argumentative, but he's been at least close to what you expect from him. But the change is Nembhard getting back to playing his full caliber of minutes. There was also that stretch in the middle of December where they actually got to practice. It was just not just getting Nembhard back, but getting a few practices in there, when they didn't make the NBA Cup, knockout rounds. You got that some space in there to make sure some of those, knockout round games got, basically were on TV all by themselves. So everybody that wasn't involved got a couple of days to practice. And that was really helpful to get them right. But really, I mean, like he's such a good connector offensively. Obviously, he's aggressive at getting his own shot, but just does a really good job of teeing Haliburton up and making sure Haliburton can run off the ball a little bit and just duck some of the defensive attention and pressure that he gets. Allows him to get downhill more because he can just run around basically and get in a better position than if he brought the ball up and he's facing a couple guys coming right at him as soon as he gets across the timeline. In this case, he gets to do some off the ball actions, run off some screens, get himself in a position where he gets some open looks for three or gets an opportunity to catch the ball off a dribble handoff or, a pass or whatever and get downhill. But defensively, it's just a dramatic change. Again, he's a guy that, he's playing. He's been a good defender before, but I think he's really taken it up a notch this year. I think he's a better defender than he's ever been. He's always been a really good one. They've always been able to trust him, even since his rookie year, taking on some of the top assignments, guarding the best players in the league. I mean LeBron James, Steph Curry, et cetera. But he has been fantastic. He shut Curry down when they were in San Francisco. Basically, he didn't play the first Boston game. They gave up 142 points. He comes back for the second game and they win. Basically it was on Jason Tatum and made him work. And when you have a guy like that, you can trust like everything else, they build around that. It definitely seems like Nembhard creates this bar for what everybody's got to be defensively, as far as bringing physicality, and other guys have risen up to meet that. I circle Benedict Mathurin in particular as a guy that's always had the body to be a really good defender, and just it seemed like he just struggled to really put it together, maintaining the intensity both to guard on the ball, but also just keep in touch with whoever you're on off the ball and fight through screens and deal with complicated switches. Mathurin has sometimes struggled with that, in the past, and you've seen a much better Benedict Mathurin. It definitely seems like he's taking a lot of his cues from Nembhard. Those guys from the same draft class, and I think Mathurin really respects him and has risen his level to try to match that. And now you can really trust Benedict Mathurin to guard some of the best players. They're still missing Aaron Nesmith. They've been out with him for more than 2 months more than 2 months now. And so, that's been one of their better defenders, but Mathurin has stepped in. And so at this point, I still would take Nesmith as a defensive player over him, but Mathurin's not that far off of what I would consider to be the Aaron Nesmith standard. So, all of that has really worked. Obviously you've still been able to depend on the scoring from guys. Pascal Siakam is stayed as steady as she goes. Had a tough first half last night, but a really good second half. But just, the connectivity that Nembhard brings and then the defensive pressure, has just totally changed the way these guys are operating.
Yeah, and you've had some other pieces added, smaller that have helped. Thomas Bryant,
sure,
it's been a boost as well. But it's the little things that have helped underneath, and all of these things are now coming together. Indiana has jumped in the playoff standing, or the conference standings, rather, playoff standings, whatever you want to call it.
That's what matters. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're tied for fourth, man. That's amazing for no, I'm sorry. They're a half a game.
They're half game back of Orlando for fourth. Yeah.
Half game back of that. So they're in fifth. It's still such a huge jump for this team. With the start that they had, it's amazing. And it's very similar to the Indiana Hoosiers, except for the Indiana Hoosiers are not, working their way through this. They're kind of going down into the rabbit hole where the Pacers have worked themselves and they have come out of this. They're like what was the To Catch a Spy, that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio or whatever. It was a true story.
Catch Me If You Can.
Where his father told him that story of the two mice in the cream, and worked so hard they churned it into butter, and they climbed out of the deal. That's how I see the Pacers right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously a big piece, just comparing things. I mean, like the in the NBA, I mean, like there's a reason why you don't panic on a couple of losses. I mean, like you play 82. I mean, you have a lot of opportunity to change yourself. You have a lot of opportunity to shake off defeat and figure it out. Like obviously, if you're going to be, a record pace type of team, which Cleveland's still on, or like close to it. They could easily, approach not easily, but they could approach Golden State's record. I mean, they're not far off a pace of being 73-9. But for the most part, like you're going to go through some tough stretches, and it's about how you respond to those. And you have a lot of time and opportunity when you're playing 82 to say, okay, what's wrong here and fix it. And I think there was some level of obvious consternation and concern and talk about, oh my God, are they ever going to figure it out? Is Haliburton a bust? Did they waste money on this guy? Should they change coaches? All this kind of thing. But like that only gets so loud in the NBA. It's obviously kind of mitigated a little bit by the number of games that there are. And so like you can change the narrative over time. You have a lot of time to do that. And they have, it's obviously, again, it's different, it was college, like you have less, margin for error, more or less. I mean, if you, if you lose, 10 games in conference, like you're in a tough spot. Basically they're looking at 500, and that depends on who you beat and whatever. So, like we'll see how IU goes, but I mean, like, again, like you have a lot of opportunity to reinvent yourself over the course of an NBA season. You have a lot of opportunity for things to come back for you. And, again, injuries were a big thing for them. I mean, I do think that, like it was, again, I do think they should have been better than 10 and 15. And certainly prior to getting Nembhard back when he was dealing with this knee tendonitis, they should have been in better shape with the four guys that they still had starting. But, again, the guys that they were missing and are still missing in Neesmith's case are the guys that bring them their connective tissue. And they are their hardest playing guys. They do simple things like run the floor hard. I mean, just run, like it sounds like, making a big deal out of nothing. But I mean, just sprinting to the corner every single time so you space the floor in transition is a big deal. And it's, it's a thing Mathurin had to learn. And the reason that Mathurin had to learn it is he's a guy that wants the ball, and just being like, okay, so I run to the corner and I stand there and I wait for the ball to come to me and I just sit there. Like, how does that work? Like, I'm a guy that I want the ball. Like, you give me the ball and I break somebody down in one-on-one and I score. Like, that's what I'm good at. Why would I run to a corner and just stand there? But that's important for the way they play. And he's had to get used to that. And he's gotten really good at it. It's making quick decisions, taking shots, quickly when you get, or moving the ball. Like making a quick decision is whether you shoot, pass, or drive. And he's gotten really good at that. But I mean, it took a lot of adjustment for them to figure out how to play together with this group. But again, they were playing without some guys that are, they might not have huge numbers, but they're really important to the way the Pacers play. And now that they have two of the three back, again, they're still missing the backup centers. Those guys aren't coming back this year, probably not, unless they have some kind of medical miracle. But these guys, Shepherd, Nembhard, and Neesmith are really important to the way they play, and getting two of the three back has been really important for them to play the way they play again.
Yeah, and to see them quickly gel has been a great sign as well. And this has to give them tons of confidence. They have beaten now the top two teams in the Eastern Conference. They own the series with Boston. They can't take that away. I don't know what the schedule's like for Cleveland yet.
This was the first one. So they play Cleveland again tomorrow at home. They've got one of these. It's, they like these baseball series that are 2 and 3, but this is one where they travel in the middle of it. Obviously,
which makes no sense.
It doesn't make no sense. It's,
it makes very little sense.
Makes a little sense. I
do like the back and forth, but it seems like it would make more sense if, okay, teams that you're out of division, go ahead and get the series over. Play the 3 games, play 2 at home, and then play 1 wherever it's going to be, or vice versa.
Sure. Well, yeah, again, this one is division. So, if you're going to play 4, it makes a little bit more sense. And it's a drive, obviously for me, at least. I mean, it's a flight for them, but it's a short one. So, I think, I get it, more or less why you would do it that way. But all in all, they're going to have a tough time getting Cleveland again. Certainly I think, and they've seen this before. I mean, I think in the past, the Pacers have in a lot of cases lost the first and won the second, and sort of learned a lot from game 1. And as both Rick Carlisle and Kenny Atkinson pointed out last night, like it's got a playoff feel to it because, it's a situation where, you learn a lot and then you get to immediately apply it in the next game. So, you don't get that opportunity very often, basically over the course of the season. So, yeah, bottom line, that's helpful. And again, this was an Eastern Conference Finals team last year. I mean, like they only need so much convincing to have confidence, I guess. Like they had reason to think that they should be here, that they should be in this situation. Like 5th in the East is not something that they should feel like was above their heads when they got back in this, into the season. They certainly just had to recover. I mean, they just had to get a lot together. And this is, they never had a stretch of basketball this good last year. I mean, they never won 12 of 15. I don't think. I mean, like they there's a 6-game winning streak and a 5-game winning streak as part of that pocket. And they did not. I think they had 1 6-game winning streak last year, and I don't think they had another one that was longer than 3 or 4. And so, yeah, I mean, like the confidence matters, but I mean, they knew they should be this good. And it was just sort of like, okay, what is wrong? Why are we not, a part of this? There's still, you still look at them and say, all right, well, Cleveland and Boston are the class of the East. But they have pulled it off. I mean, I don't know that they could beat either one of them in a 7-game series. But they can at least beat them once. They beat the Celtics twice. So, like whatever situation they end up in the playoffs, and I increasingly think they're going to be a playoff team. But again, they could slip. I mean, they're only a half game up a 7th. Basically there's a pocket of Orlando, the Pacers, the Bucks, the Heat and the Hawks that are all pretty tight together, from 4 to 8, and Detroit, is right there too, actually 4 to 9. All of those teams are right now within 2.5 games, so they could easily slip and find themselves in a much worse playoff position. But again, the trajectory they're on, they're in a lot better place.
Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star is with us. We've got to take a break. We've got plenty more to talk about. When we come back, we'll talk some college ball, as Dustin is Mr. Well-Rounded. He knows all. He keeps up with everything. He's taking a break up in Cleveland right now. Do you have a favorite restaurant in Cleveland?
No, I haven't been. I'll say this. I'm looking forward. They play the last game of the year at Cleveland at 1 on a Sunday, and so every time I'm here, I basically go straight to the arena because it's a drive, and then they play one night and I go back. So every dinner I've had in Cleveland has been, because they give you a voucher here. Every dinner I've had in Cleveland has been at a concession stand.
As long as you got a voucher.
That's true. That's helpful.
As long as you got a voucher, that's what they're doing at IU now. And
yep, interesting.
So you get to go get some overpriced food.
JD Campbell would not stand for this.
Not only that, we no longer have Coke Zero.
Wow, man.
That is the biggest. That's the first thing I noticed. I'm like, wow. JD Campbell, the former USID sports.
And Tom Crean would not stand for that. Would not. No chance.
Miss it. We've got to take a break. We'll come back and talk more. Dustin Dopirak is with us from the Indy Star. We're back right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. with a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music. You can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fischer. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. I hope you had a good weekend and you're ready for the week. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Stars with us. Jim Coyle here as well at the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. And college basketball fun. The Big Ten is different this year. Dustin, you've got UCLA, which had looked like they may be the team, and then they get beat down. Then Illinois look like they're the team, and then they lose at home to USC, who IU just beat. Michigan State still looking good, and Michigan still looking good. But not that any of these teams are not pushovers. Illinois comes to Bloomington tomorrow night off of that loss, so they're not happy. Indiana coming off a horrific loss at Iowa, just an awful beatdown. They're down to 60th in the net rankings now, and as opposed to the Pacers, they're not. Their swirl, it seems like it's going down instead of rising up. They're getting worse instead of better.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the funny part is like not long ago it was a different ballgame. You're like, hey, beat USC, beat Penn State, beat Rutgers. Okay,
look good, but look good doing it too.
Yeah, look good doing it. I mean, again, like it is a different deal. In the NBA, like you can. You will still look at it as all right. Like if you got a stinker in the middle of a stretch of 3 or 4, you're like, that happens. I mean, it's obviously different in college ball. You don't only have so many opportunities. And so, a one in particular game takes on a lot more parts of the narrative. I mean, like, again, like no one, like there's probably going to be some level of annoyance on Cleveland sports radio on my drive home today for what happened last night. But I imagine most people will be like, they're 33-5. Let's, chill out. Obviously it's different in IU, in college ball where like if you go from 12-3 to 12-4 or whatever, like that's significant. Like that matters, especially when you're just getting started with conference play and games that matter. But no, I mean, I think I think Zach, my boy Zach Osterman, has done a lot of research just pointing out like, man, when they lose bad. Like it's wild, like how, again, they can string some really good games together, but when they get and they get beat, they get just embarrassed. Like, it looks like they're like, okay, did you guys forget how to play? Like, it just seemed like you had this all figured out. Like, what happened? Like, so it's like, you don't just go and get, hey, Iowa's a tough place to play. That's
Absolutely.
a tough trip. I know I covered a lot of good teams, good IU teams that went out to Iowa and got dusted and looked bad doing it, but usually recovered. But even 25 is a lot. 25 is a lot. I mean, for a college game, and they really got roughed up in that one. Like, it was close. Or not, it was close. I mean, like, there was periods like early in the first quarter, I think they were up, and then the bottom fell out. And I was only half watching because the Steelers were on, and they were, being that it was similar things were happening to them. But yeah, it's just sometimes you watch these guys and you're like, what is going on? And I don't mean that to make some nefarious point or whatever, or conspiratorial or whatnot. But like they sometimes when they seem out of it, I mean, they seem really out of it. And so, obviously they've shown before that they can, rally, respond, they had a couple of just utterly brutal losses in the Bahamas, still managed to get one out of there and came back and, got back to relatively normal. And so it didn't just destroy them entirely. But, I think one line Zach said was that, like, another one of these is always just around the corner, even if you start to see progress, like history tells you that at some point they're going to have another game like this, and you don't know where it's going to be or why or how, but they're capable of going back into this kind of a funk. And so, that is going to hurt them, when it comes to, if they're even in the position, when it comes to being talked about for a tournament spot, they have a few more of these. I mean, like, the ugliness of losses is going to factor in, like people that are making these decisions and seeing the games and the way they lose them, is going to matter. So yeah, no, I mean, I and again, like, I'm obviously not looking at it closely enough to say, okay, like, what's going on here? I mean, obviously I can look at the stat sheet and say, well, this is a disaster.
You don't have to look too far.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, 16 turnovers, 4 of 16 from 3.
Well, the 16 turnovers, only 4 came in the second half. That was the biggest problem in the first half.
12,
the 12, and I think Iowa managed like 24 points off of turnovers. That is something Indiana had been kind of doing. They had been offensive rebounding. They had been shooting the 3 ball better. And then it just goes away. A big part of it also is McKenzie Mbako. If he doesn't get going, Don said it earlier, he just disengages, and you can see it. He's only averaged about 15 minutes the last 2 games. And in this loss against Iowa, 3 of their 5 starters combined for 9 points. 9 whopping points.
Right.
Iowa had 6 guys that scored more than that. So it's hard enough having one of your starters, important starters like Mbako, not show up. But when it crosses the border to 2 other starters, you're not going to win. And there just doesn't seem to be any answers for Indiana to offer. And that's the problem.
Right. Now, I mean, like, Trey Galloway, 20 minutes, no points, 1 assist, 4 turnovers. I mean, it's hard to get that's a 5th-year senior, and that's a guy that's been trusted a lot of times and made big plays in a lot of cases. I mean, like, I've seen Trey Galloway do awesome stuff, so like, like it basically, if you've got a scenario like that, like when, like, Mbako and Goody, because they're outside shooters, like in some way, like, there's a dependency. I guess when you're a run to the corner outside shooter, basically, like, there's a dependency on the ball getting to you getting open shots. And they're not going to go down every night. But like, I mean, if you're Mbako, you've Goody is going to be Goody. Like, you're if you're a little Goody, like, your job is to space the floor. Like, your entire job is to space the floor. And it's like, sometimes you're gonna make 3s, sometimes you're not. You got to live with the nights you're not. Mbako, you'd have to think he's got to be able to, impose at least a little bit more will. But, I mean, like, if it's not happening, you need more from your guards. You certainly need more from your 5th-year senior guard. So yeah, I mean, like, again, you look up and down this list and you're like, man, like this one's on everybody. If you look at this, if you look at the stat sheet, you're just like there's not a lot of people that don't have some like real standout responsibility for this. Maybe Anthony O'Leal's got a pretty nice looking stat line, takes one shot, hits it, gets 5 assists, doesn't turn the ball over, gets a block and a steal in 21 minutes. After that, you're like, man, everybody had a rough one. Everybody had a serious rough one. And so, yeah, like to your point, like if you're in Baco, like I get it. I mean, trust me, at the NBA level, they have the same issue in terms of guys, needing to get points to really feel engaged. Like, I mean, it is just how, guys are wired and that's natural. And none of us are above that. Like, it's just like, I think, we all like to believe that when we played basketball at whatever level we did, we were gritty, tough defenders. And we did the little things. And it's like, you cared about putting the ball in the bucket too, no matter where level you played at. And me, it was just rec league, but like you wanted to score the basketball. And when the ball doesn't go in, it does take something away from you, but still, like you do have to be able to rise above that and give you something on defense, on offense, something that isn't just scoring the basketball. And so, like, yeah, they're just not getting enough from everybody. And like for a game to get away like that, it's brutal, and it just puts you in an increasingly tougher position.
Yeah, their 4 losses have been by an average of 21.5 points.
Yeah.
That's that you look at that when the committee looks at that, and the fact that they're 60th in the net rankings,
right?
That's going to be impossible to overcome because they don't have any wins of substance right now. And you're going to have the opportunities coming up. One tomorrow night when Illinois comes to town, but you have to win the home games. If you lose at home, your butt is cooked.
Yeah, it could get away quickly. I mean, like, obviously, they have also overtime, and this is obviously not last year, but I mean, I remember the first year I covered, the Mike Woodson era, just when you thought they were cooked, they went on a run in the Big Ten tournament and they got in, and so it could click. They could get enough. I mean, I'm trying to think of, I remember that team beating Purdue, and I didn't think it was good enough to beat Purdue. So like there is, you don't want to rule out the possibility that they could, shake this stuff off and rise up and win games think they have no business winning. But there's also not there are opportunities to improve, your standing, but it's not a situation where I don't think there's anybody on the schedule. Right now, Illinois is 13th, and that's the highest, AP ranked team in the league. Michigan State's 14th. I mean, do they even, when do they play them? There's not a lot of opportunity.
You got Michigan coming up.
Michigan State February 11th, Michigan February 8th. Purdue, yeah. There's a couple on here.
Oregon comes in, UCLA comes in. Oregon and UCLA.
Yeah, they got enough.
Home games.
Yeah. And they don't, but the thing is, like, they don't get to play a lot of these teams twice. I don't even know if they get to play anybody twice. They play some. I don't know which ones besides Purdue. There's only 3. I think there's only 3. It's so wild. That's so weird.
Yeah, only 3 teams, I believe, that they'll play twice.
Yeah.
Purdue, of course, one of those.
Right.
But I think Ohio State is one of those as well, because they end the year hosting Ohio State, and I know they go there this week. So Purdue, Ohio State, and I think it is Penn State. So they get to host Penn State, which is a positive because they'll get them at home. But they're going to have to get a solid win, or they're not going to make the NCAA tournament. And if this team does not make the NCAA tournament, I have to say that I'm going to be shocked if Indiana does not make a change. You can't. No one needs me to tell them.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we're in year 4 here. So what are we doing? If that's not the deal, then what's the goal? What's the point?
Right. I mean, obviously it's a different, not the scale, but the calendar, I guess, is different. What obviously helps Woodson is he made it the first 2 years. So like, usually it's like, okay, like if year 4 and you haven't made it, It's different than if it's year 4 and you made it the first couple of times and you've had a drought. But, obviously trajectory matters. And it's saying, okay, what, and if you couldn't make it with this team and, considering, and obviously everything is different now that you're looking at NIL. You have to look, in the old days, it was like, okay, well, what's your recruiting class look like? What did you turn your recruiting class into? You better have 4 years to be able to get a whole class. Obviously everything changes in terms of the personnel and how you put a team together. And so therefore the judgment's different. If they don't make the tournament, I'd be surprised. And I'm generally, when it comes to coaching hires, hiring and firing, it's like, all right, I'm more of kind of you add them all up, and at the end of the year, you make a decision type of person. I think, basically like a lot of you definitely see a lot of fan commentary that people want someone left on tarmac. I think it happened to Lane Kiffin, and everybody wants it to happen for their team because they're mad enough that they don't want somebody come, they're like, somebody just leave him. Don't bring him back. Make him find his own way home. You can't do that. But I can't believe it happened once. But, all the same, if they reach this point and it's still, if this team is middling around 500 at the end of the year and sub 500 in the Big Ten, and they don't make the tournament, again, with a roster that, from an NIL perspective was apparently very well paid, and at least has
in the Big Ten.
Yeah. And at least has the tools. It seems like, again, they have on paper the pieces, not just having good players, but having the type of guys that you can build a modern offense around, have some veterans, have some, a couple guys that have been there for 5 years. They have all the things that you should be able to point to and say, this is a tournament team. If you're Mike Woodson, to keep your job, there has to be some kind of case that you make that you don't have someone that's good enough. And I would be very surprised to know what that is. Because it's obviously I'm watching this from a distance. I'm at 20,000, 30,000 feet or whatever you want to say metaphorically. I'm not watching this group on a daily basis. I don't see, what everybody else has now. But, from this distance, it's like, okay, I don't know what you can look at and say, I need another chance because I haven't got X, Y, and Z. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, and you just look at the numbers. So you just look at what everyone else has been able to do. And one of the things that I don't want to say aggravates me, but just jumps out every time is every presser, the questions that are asked are just not really answered. They're either taken in a different direction, or, well, I'm not going to focus on that, or this. Why? There seems to be too many things that are not being focused on, and to just take that laissez-faire attitude seems to be the attitude that this team has, and that seems to be the crossover.
Yeah, I struggle to connect dots when it comes to what's said in the press conference, just because well,
it's how it's so much
sure.
When you ask, I hate to use Signetti as an example, but because his answers are going to be, different places, but he's usually not going to ignore or not deal with a situation where these situations are not like the question will be asked and it'll be, a PR type answer. And it's like, man, that means that there's no accountability being taken. There's no awareness of really what's going on.
Yeah. Like I said, I knowing.
I know because you don't cover it, so I get it.
Yeah, no,
but, in generalities.
Sure. The one thing I caution is just I know what it's like covering Rick Carlisle, and it's just there are definitely times when it's just okay, I don't want to go down this track with you. And he's definitely a type where if you watch the press conferences, mostly it's me and Tony East asking all the questions, and me if Tony's not there, and so it's just it is this constant ninjutsu thing going on, and there's sometimes where it's okay, you think it's sometimes clear to me Rick's you think what's going on and you have no idea, and so sometimes, and a lot of times, he's right, or because he's got a level of depth that goes from having one more NBA games than Red Auerbach. And sometimes that's the case with coaches. And sometimes it's just I have thought as a reporter, and seen, the whole fan base thinking of it the same way. They're okay, well, this is your problem. What are you going to do to fix this problem? And sometimes coaches are like, that's actually not it. You think that's it. That's what it stands out to be, but it's actually this problem over here. And I'm not going to tell you about this problem over here, but I am going to go fix it. And so like that, and then like 3 weeks later, but a lot of cases, 3 weeks later, you get an answer, be like, we actually were thinking we weren't doing this well. This was really standing out. And, like you wanted to talk about this guy, you want to talk about this individual who's not shooting well enough or this, that, or whatever, but it's really that we weren't playing hard enough defense. And, like that's what we really focused on. And so you're wrong. And so, like I try not to get too connected in terms of that, in terms of like, well, this answer means that they're lost. Doesn't necessarily. Like, I mean, people are like, coaches are playing a different game with the media. They're just trying to get out of there, more or less, and say as little as humanly possible. And so I said, I mean, like, even from covering him for a year, I mean, like I like Mike Woodson has more answers than he gives us, gives the media. Like, and I have seen him fix things, and get better at things. And it's different. The way he talks about it is different. Like, he's obviously got his slow sort of wise old owl sort of countenance to him. And sometimes it doesn't come off that he has as much of a sense of what's going on that he actually does. But so again, like, I don't know if that's the case in any of these in particular. But yeah, I mean, like that notion adds to, like the sense, if you're an IU fan, that, okay, like this looks lost. It doesn't look like what you're talking about. If you're going to duck questions, you do have to eventually produce results that show that you had the answer that everybody else didn't have. And so, like, or had answers to the questions that everyone should have been asking, but weren't. So, like that's a big piece there, So and again, at some point he has to win basketball games, and eventually nothing else is going to matter.
Absolutely. What's up next for you, brother?
They're back home Tuesday, so soon I'm gonna get on the road here. I don't know if they're kicking me out at 11 or noon. And so be back on the road. Then they play Cleveland at home. Then they go back to Detroit on Thursday. Play Philly on Saturday, and then they go to Paris, and I don't. Bummed about that.
I'm still upset. I hope that everyone sent in complaints. Dustin,
don't do that.
Paris.
Don't do that. Actually, please don't.
Kidding.
Please don't. No,
but you can send Dustin a Parisian little cap. Little
I'm
red
good.
cap.
I have been. MJ and I went this summer. It is wonderful. If you are in the position to do it, if you are,
Oh, did you? So you didn't get to go into Notre Dame because it wasn't open yet, right?
We got to walk around it. I mean, it's scaffolding. I think what they had the first mass back was mid-December, I think, or mid to late December, something like that. But so we were there in June, and they were, like what's really cool about it. And I know we got to go pretty soon, but like they had all the scaffolding up, and they were working on it like every hour of every day. But so like we were still able to take a tour where you just, walk around it in a circle and everything like that, and you see what they're up to. But they had like all these pictures of like kind of mural looking things of everybody that was working on the restoration. And it is a city, nationwide project that they have poured so much into bringing that place back and trying to do it in exact formulation as possible. It's still breathtaking, even when it was under a ton of scaffolding. And so one of so many things in Paris that is breathtaking. It's a place that knocks your socks off. If you ever have a chance to go, I highly recommend.
Speaking of knocks your socks off, Dustin will do it with this great coverage at the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Appreciate you, my friend, as always.
You too, Jim.
Thank you, sir. We've got lots more coming up to finish it out here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Stay with us. Back right after this from the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Monday, getting the week started. I hope you had a great weekend, and the week is off to a good start. At least that's our goal here. Indiana, I'm looking at the net rankings, and the teams that are, some of the teams that are in front of them, mind-boggling. Oregon State. How about North Texas? 2 spots in front of Indiana at a 9-4 record. New Mexico, Northwestern has 10 losses, but they're 4 spots ahead of Indiana. Creighton has 6 losses, but they are 6 spots in front of Indiana. Boise State is 8 spots in front of Indiana. Villanova, 11-6, and they are 10 spots in front of Indiana. It's the same song and dance, man. It's not fun to bounce on that, but that's it. It is what it is. And the sad part is it's January. And again, I keep saying Indiana has the opportunity to fix this. It just doesn't seem like it's possible with what is seen. Todd talks about the positive touches. There's not a lot of positive anything right now with that team. It's unfortunate, but everything starts at the top and rolls down, and that's it. I mean, there are too many teams. Arkansas, they're number 49. They're in their first season with John Calipari. 11-5, but they're 49th in the net rankings. Let's see. Louisville, first season with Pat Kelsey and an entire new roster, 13 new scholarship players. They had a little trouble, but right now they're 35th in the net rankings. They're going to be a tournament team without question. Ole Miss, Chris Beard, they're 23rd. They're 14-2 on the season, and they play in the You want to talk about a meat grinder? I've called the Big Ten a meat grinder. It's nothing compared to the SEC. Nothing. SEC, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 SEC teams in the top 26. 10. The Big Ten has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not bad. But after that, it really drops for the Big Ten. While the SEC continues to plug along. But these are all teams that Kentucky, Mark Pope, first year, they're 13-3. They're 13th in the net rankings. Michigan, 13-3, 11th in the net rankings. So it is what it is. And there's not a lot that can be done about it, to be honest with you. I mean, the complaining is not going to do anything. But football's going well. They're adding the pieces they need to add. They're not losing guys. That's the important thing. You know, that Holden stays. They brought the tight end that coming from Tennessee, and before that he was with Notre Dame. But he caught 15 passes for 176 yards and 4 TDs in 2 seasons in South Bend. And during his only season in Knoxville, he caught 15 for 131 and a touchdown in 13 games. He 31 catches for 318 yards, 5 touchdowns during his time everywhere. But he's just a good-looking tight end. He reminds me of, daggone, I can't think of his name from a few years ago. They went to the NFL. And that's something I think that Indiana is going to have to start acquiring, and that is some NFL talent. Whether it's a tight end, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive line, you have to have NFL talent on your roster to compete at that upper level. There are a lot of NFL guys on Ohio State and Notre Dame, as well as Texas and those other teams. It's the same in basketball. You have to have NBA draft picks on your roster or you're not going to win at the upper level. It's just a fact. It is just a fact. How many NBA draft picks does Indiana really have on their team right now? I don't know. And Baco is not showing the motor for that, but sticking to football, Indiana is, I really think that they could be better next season than they were this season as a team. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have a better record, because their schedule next year does pick up with 3 tough road games at Oregon, at Penn State, at Iowa. If they can win one of those 3, go 10-2, this team should make another playoff run. Depending on how they play those other 2 games, nothing to say they can't win 2 out of the 3. Maybe. It's going to be tough. This team has to learn how to play on the road against upper-level teams. They were able to do it at home against Michigan, but they have to be able to go on the road, deal with what happens on the road, and play to win. That's something that Indiana is going to have to show. How about Khalil Benson coming back? In 2023, Benson started 12 times at right tackle for the Hoosiers. It was a big loss losing him to Colorado. Man, if he would have just stuck around, that would have been huge. He had 24 straight starts he had in the final 2 years when he was here. Now he's back. He appeared in 9 games for Colorado. He missed some time due to an injury, but he played some at right guard, where he started the first 4 games of the season for Colorado. Left guard and left right tackle over the course of 400. He played everywhere. He's an invaluable tool, man. He only allowed 2 sacks and 1 quarterback hit and 3 hurries his time in there. That's a huge pickup. Excuse me. Wide receiver Tyler Morris coming in from Michigan. 39 career catches, 470 yards, 3 TDs. He had 23 catches last year for 250 yards, couple of scores, including 3 catches for 36 yards against Indiana in their loss. That's wild, isn't it? Playing against guys that next year are on your team. It's kind of crazy. But they've added pieces at defensive back, a couple. Ryland Gandy from Pitt coming in. Who was there was another defensive back. Lewis Moore, the safety from Ole Miss. I mean, that's a big time addition. Mekhi Jackson at wide receiver from App State. Of course, there's Fernando Mendoza at quarterback, which was the biggest grab for Indiana. Big thanks to everybody for joining us on the program today. We're back tomorrow to do it all again. Evan Micaiah will join us, and we're going to talk some basketball numbers in addition to Mike DeCourcy and Travis Miller. Big thanks to each and every one of you. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.